Here are 24 new free VR games you can play right now on your Meta Quest 2 device. Now some of these games are demos, others might be in beta phase, and as these games are brand new, they will differ in quality, and they can all be found on APPLAB and SIDEQUEST. Make sure to check down below for the links. Let's go. Oh wait, hang on a minute, I can't see properly. I'm gonna have to buy some prescription lenses from today's sponsor, VRWave. VRWave make incredible prescription lenses for the Quest 2 and other popular VR headsets. You can have them to correct nearsightedness and astigmatism, or even get them to filter out blue light to reduce eye strain. The best part about it is that they offer worldwide shipping, so no matter where you are, you can take advantage of their amazing product. Head to www.vr-wave.store or head down in the description where I'll put a link. So first up then is Metro Meltdown. This is a single player VR shooter where your goal is to escape the city you live in due to a variety of different reasons. In the game, you have to travel around a neon style city, and you can use a variety of different techniques like running, shooting, riding and even grappling to battle your way through the city in order to escape. Currently there is only the first level of the game where you can only run and shoot, but the game also claims to have sandbox levels you can mess around in too. Next up is Gorilla Tag. Now when I made my last free game list, I had a bunch of comments saying that Gorilla Tag should be on the list. Now, despite the fact it's not a new game, it did become available on the Oculus store last month, so for those who left a comment on a previous video, this entry is for you. There will also be a few other games inspired heavily by Gorilla Tag on this list, and that brings me to my next free game, which is Monkey Runners. Now this is a Gorilla Tag knockoff that sees you using Gorilla Tag locomotion to run, climb and jump in VR using just your arms, no buttons or sticks or no teleportation, anything like that. Push off of surfaces to jump and squeeze in both the hands to climb. Basically Gorilla Tag, as I said. You can hang out in virtual reality in a virtual jungle and hang out with some friends, or play as a monkey in an open world map. It's entirely up to you. Next up is Out of Luck. Now Out of Luck is a free, fast-paced, family-friendly first-person shooting game that is very reminiscent of the Duck Hunt style shooters, only with 360 degrees. Now you must face off against waves of different enemies in a variety of colourful environments, and you can battle cowboys in a western town or face off against hordes of aliens with flying saucers on a hostile planet far away. There is definitely some variety here, and the game was 100% free, so it could definitely be worth playing if you're into that sort of game. Next up is Breakout Padel, which is a free new virtual reality game that brings a real-life paddle game to your VR headset. You take out your ping pong paddle and hit a ball against the wall in order to break the blocks over and over again in order to score points. Now, there isn't a story mode, campaign or even online multiplayer. Instead, the goal is to simply compete by getting the high score on the scoreboard. For a free game though, who could complain? Next up is Time Titans VR. Now, Time Titans VR is a single-player action shooter that reminds me slightly of the very popular game Superhot. The goal is to take down all the enemies by slowing down time to gain the advantage. You can shoot, punch, and slice through enemies while unleashing absolute mayhem. Not only can you shoot, but you can use an assortment of melee weapons like maces, battle axes, side swords, and many others. Next up is Musical Journey. Now this is more of a utility than a game, but the sound of it is super interesting. Now Musical Journey allows you to create music with just your hands in a VR space. You can mix samples and combine music to your liking, from blues to trap. You can learn about the history of instruments and genres, as difficult musical styles have developed thanks to migration. The developers say it's easy to pick up and anyone can start making awesome music right away. Now there is a huge educational element here that fans of making music should find at very least entertaining, and at the most very useful to have. Next up is, I hope I'm going to say this correctly, Arakuri Kengeki. Now this is a free VR sword fighting game that sees you take out deadly samurai robot using a trusted katana sword, all set in feudal Japan. There are different stages you must progress through as you get to progressively more dangerous enemies. Outside of that, there isn't much else to say, so let's get on to the next one, which is Shovel Hands. Now this is going to be the last Gorilla Tag copy on this list. Now Shovel Hands follows an almost identical setup to that of Gorilla Tag, but the palette is slightly different by being more cartoony than the other Gorilla Tag copies. There isn't anything unique about this game though, so let's just get on to the next one. Next up is Paper Planes Landing. Now Paper Planes Landing is a demo that takes the old days of making paper airplanes and giving it an objective in VR. The casual game experience sees you land paper airplanes in a box so the paper plane can reach safety. It is designed to work with hand tracking in a limited room scale area, and as this is an early demo of the game, there is currently only one level to play. Next up is Cleopatra Pinball. Now this virtual reality pinball game is set in ancient Egypt, and the game allows players to fully immerse themselves in the world of Cleopatra and Alexander the Great. These games combine traditional pinball gameplay with elements of history and adventure as players learn about ancient Egyptian culture and encounter famous historical figures. The VR technology allows players to see the game board and objects in 3D and is both meant to be fun and educational. Next up is Vortex VR. Vortex VR is a French-only immersive game or experience where you must explore the universe of the Vortex series and help the commissioner solve the crime. You must inspect the crime scene and control time in order to interact with objects to find all the clues and solve the crime. Best part about it is that you only have 20 precious minutes to do it. This is one for those who like a bit of mystery with their VR games. Next up is SCP Labrat. Now in SCP Labrat, you are the test subject in an underground SCP research facility. When a containment breach occurs, you must find your way out, and you must escape the SCPs, discover different anomalous objects, and collect valuable resources along the way. The game has features like single player and multiplayer modes with a variety of items and weapons. It also has an immersive player suited with a full body and physics interaction. The game itself looks a bit like Half-Life and Bone Art, but it's still in very early development. Next up is Class Warfare. Class Warfare is a class-based shooting game with a focus on choosing a diverse range of characters, each with their own unique playstyle and abilities. It's set in a futuristic world where players must use their chosen class's weapons and equipment to overcome challenges and emerge victorious. Class Warfare City is randomly generated each time you play, ensuring that no two gameplay experiences are the same. The entire point of the game is being able to adapt to different scenarios with different classes. The city is filled with different opponents and obstacles, including clueless robots, alien gangs, trigger-happy soldiers, and you must recruit mercenaries to carry out your dirty work for you. Next up is Undead Quest. Now this undead-oriented wave shooter is a demo where you must fend off hordes of funny little skeletons and undead enemies using nothing more than a bat ball and a few spells. The point is to hit the ball at the enemies or cast spells to take them down while moving from one location to another. The demo has 7 levels with 7 different enemies and several other cutscenes. What more could you want for free? Next up is Snowball VR. Now, are you tired of constant first-person shooters or Gorilla Tag knockoffs? I mean, I am. If you ever wanted to fight with snowballs while being in the comfort of your own home, then this game pitches 4v4 in a snowball showdown. There is multiplayer with random players, or you can play with friends. There are power-ups available to recharge energy, get a shield, or even a snowball toy gun. It's entirely up to you. Next up is Car Fight. Car Fight is a VR first-person shooting cockpit game where you must steer your vehicle using your controllers and then take out your opponents using weapons mounted on your vehicle. There is a multiplayer mode, and like all driving games, there are power-ups that give you different abilities that you can use to gain advantage over your opponent. If you're looking for a free VR vehicle combat game, then this could be for you. Next up is Stuck in Infinity VR. This is a backroom style game that currently is in its alpha phase. This sees you enter the backrooms maze with the only goal is to attempt to escape. The difference with this as opposed to some of the others is it has multiplayer with up to 30 people at the same time as you travel around using Gorilla Tag locomotion. Can you escape? Who knows, but for free it could be worth finding out. Next up is Bubble Trip 2. Now this is a puzzle shooter like the classic Beehive Bedlam, just in virtual reality. You're in the center of a spherical area whose surface is gradually covered with marbles. You must aim your own colored marbles at the same colors in order to break clusters of 4 marbles or more. Excuse the use of the term marbles all the time. The goal is to create multipliers in order to score maximum points and receive bonus marbles that will allow you to clear all the marbles from the area or avoid being overwhelmed by an increasing stream of marbles. I'm losing my marbles, just say marbles this much. Next up is Prehistoric Domain. Now, Prehistoric Domain is a free VR game that aims to bring you a Jurassic Park style experience in the comfort of your own home. You can travel to different parts of the park and interact with life-size dinosaurs and other extinct animals. You'd think there'd be more dinosaur-oriented games on the Quest 2, well now there is one more to add to the list, and it is absolutely free. Next up then is Gun Hit. Gun Hit is a western-inspired shooter which sees you take out enemies while riding on a trusty horse. There are a few things planned for the game, including creating a salon, new weapons and horses, and a multiplayer part of the game so you can get involved in salon battles, but it's still in very early production and there isn't much gameplay to share. Next up is path tracing. Now, path tracing is a very unique idea that builds upon the AR capabilities of the Quest device. The idea is to use the Quest as a foundation in which to trace images in real life. First of all, lay an image you want to trace over in real life in a digital canvas and simply draw over it in the real world. This is when I had to put on this due to how cool it actually is. Now I can pretend I can actually draw stuff. Next up is PPSSPPVR, which is basically a VR version of the popular PlayStation Portable emulator of the same name. This allows you to play all your favorite PSP games in VR, allowing you to see them from a different perspective. Obviously, it doesn't come equipped with any actual games, but it's interesting to see the different ways people are utilizing the Quest to get more out of old games and technology. Anyway, that's it from me for now. Peace.